because there's a lot going on right now. There's a lot of noise. And we need, as professionals as well, clients and marketers, to find a way to get rid of the noise and focus on the sound. Be more specific and find how we can support better our clients, support those brands, and get the consumers or the stakeholders what they want. So we'll talk about that, but let me start with this lovely little statement from George Bernard Shaw. I know he's not French, but the biggest problem in communication is the illusion that it has taken place. And let's not kid ourselves. This is one of our biggest challenges. We do orchestrate communication. We want to put people together. We want to bring brands in the hands, in the minds of our consumer and stakeholders. But really, is it happening, or are we just dealing with the illusion of all it? And that's where we need to dive today, more than ever. So this is an interesting starting point because we are where we are. Whether it is in Canada or in the States, right now, polarized. Canada is polarized. Just recently, we realized that there's 37, almost 40% of the Canadian population of 35 years old and younger that are considered what we call proud. This is a new conservative mental posture never seen in this country that has been rising over the last 5 years at the speed of light. It's a new behavior pattern, it's a new mentality, it's a new way to look at a lot of things. Household responsibilities, who's driving the car, who's holding the grocery cart at the grocery store. All these things are slowly changing and affecting a growing number of men and women as well in Canada. So when we talk about this big divide, and we hear it a lot, of course, in the States, it's happening in Canada as well. We're not immune to that. It's just the way things have evolved. And it's also important to note that these new mental postures in our society are forcing us as marketers to look at things and do things differently. I know we do and think about that every day. But the challenge is there new ways, is there new tools, is there new methods that we could apply to get where we need to go? The emotional volatility is high. So we are asked more than ever to generate emotional connections. Yes, emotions are driving behaviors. We all know that. But the challenge is, how do we generate these emotions? And how do we get certain control on this? Are we just opening a box and then we can't control the little devil out of it? So the mood has shifted. Brands are expected to better read the room. So it's interesting because as marketers or strategists or publicists, we are sitting between the brands, the organizations, and the stakeholders. And when we're talking about better reading the room, the question that we should be more asking ourselves is, what do we really know? Are we just rolling on assumptions? Are we just trying to knock it out of the park, go for the fences, by only bringing back these assumptions without really validating them more and even more? Is there new ways to validate? Is there new ways to get really our hands on the patient to better capture what's going on? 5 core trends that we have identified, Rinaldi, that we want to share today. The first one is the fatigue factor. We all know that. But people are tired. They don't want to get pushed new stuff. They're tired. They're tired of being on their machines. They're tired of not having control on their time. You all know that. But the reality is how this plays in this new paradigm of conversation, and communication. The attention wars. There's a book, and some of you may recall, that was The Attention Economy. I think it's maybe 15 years ago or something like that. So it's not the economy anymore, it's the attention wars. A lot of people are fighting and there'll be blood. And frankly, the people that we're targeting are exhausted. So there's casualties in a war. And we are sometimes, and our stakeholders are as well casualties. Expectation spiral. On the stakeholder side, the needs, the expectations keep getting higher. And we'll go quickly later on some classic statements coming from clients, asking us more, asking us better connection, asking us to prove what we're doing a little bit more, proving that the communication strategies or initiatives that we're putting in place are really bringing the goods. Challenging for all of us, challenging for them as well. So the one size fits all doesn't cut it anymore. And people expect three important, in my mind, words: relevance, I like empathy a lot, and of course, immediacy. It's right now. It's right now. This sense of urgency. Now, this is putting pressure on us, but if we step back and we zoom out for a second, there's ways that we could find peace in this very challenging environment. Two more trends that are important and that we live by at Rinaldi is the engagement gap. And this one I like because we're stuck in this digital-driven world with a lot of passive content. We push stuff out there. Oh, we did something. The content is there. Have you read it? I don't know. Do you like it? I don't know. People have vague responses to what we push out there. It's not because the content is not good. They just don't have the mental disposition to dive into it. And this moment of availability might be between 11:30 and midnight. And if this is what we have, well, this is what we have. But that's the reality that we're dealing with. So this gap is very important, and we need to find a way to do it. Human benchmark as well, and that for me is very interesting because with everything that is happening in our industry and in the world, and this is not just North America, it's Latin America as well, it's Europe, it's China, it's Southeast Asia. So everywhere we get, there's a study that was interestingly published, I think it was last year, on the Chinese consumer and the level of fatigue as well. Even if China has been seen and promoted as a very dynamic market, well, people are people. And they too experience fatigue. And we need to take that into consideration. So it's a global problem. But the human benchmark here is about making sure that everything that is being done right now is human grade. And frankly, and we gotta look at ourselves a little bit, we lost a bit of our way here. Because tech and social media are bringing us there with promises of productivity, speed. But are we losing something here? Have we lost things on the way? So these are 5 little factors, trends, perspective that we try to constantly shovel in the furnace and see how it could bring more ideas, solution. Clients, our message isn't lending. Well, we like what we're saying, but is it really the right one? We're listening, but we're not learning. A lot of studies, a lot of assumptions, but do we have traction here? We're not sure who's speaking, who we're speaking to anymore. In other words, we're saying sometimes, oh, we should not be talking or see consumers as walking wallets. They're people with emotions, stress, aspirations, expectations. So what are we really talking about? In this world where also male, female, gender, demographics, psychography, everything is happening right now, and it's a big mess. It's complicated. But let's talk about something positive here. Let's talk about something that we've been looking at for a few years now that we call conversational intelligence. So what is it? Quickly, things that you already know, but that are coined in this expression now, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. So CI, conversational intelligence, it's the ability to understand, analyze, and more importantly, act on what is said and felt. It's the opportunity, thanks to the technology, to be able to do what we need to do as human, as advertisers, as marketers, but to do it at a right speed, maybe a faster speed, without losing the emotional connection that is the bedrock of what we do. Now, how do we do it? It's not about creating excitement about AI. This is not a conversation about AI. I mean, it's not. But it's about technology. And it's about technology bridging with us with our mentality and the way we like to do things and must do things as marketers and strategists as well. So it's really to understand, analyze, not just what is being said, because as we know, we can say things and don't mean it, but feelings are a little bit more transparent. That's what we want to get. 61%, 2/3 consumers are tuning out brands that are misreading them. This is an interesting topic from Edelman, and I like what they do with a barometer, the trust barometer every year. Sometimes it's a little bit vague, but sometimes, boom, they hit something very quirky and interesting. That's a good one. Tuning out means, again, if as a brand, we're constantly dealing or working on assumptions, at some point we're gonna miss the mark. And consumers are feeling it. Another aspect interesting is 70% of brands to reduce social division. They're expecting also, that's a growing kind of ask from consumers and stakeholders in general that are saying, play a role, please. I don't want you to be a French we call militant, a very strong advocate, but do something. Don't just sit there, do something. And this kind of advocacy from brands to solve social issues, it's something that brands can do. And we can be the conduit and the gateway to make that happen the right way. 79% Americans worry about data use. Of course, when we talk about AI, social platforms, the GAFAM of this world, it's true, data is a big problem, it's a big concern. But the real question here is trust. And trust is overlooked because we want to go fast. And we go fast at many levels. 88% of clients, CMOs, say emotional insight for them are key. Now the question is, what do they have? What are they dealing with? But that's what they're saying. They believe that 23% trust their tools only. So trust is important, emotion is key, but we're not quite sure we have the right tools there. So these are questions that are out there. The conversation that is happening in a boardroom between you guys and your clients on these aspects, they're classics. But the question that we may ask ourselves is, okay, is there a real way that we can find peace in the valley? Let's look at it. Conversational intelligence, so as a concept, is a capability. So you might hear, if you do some research, that conversational intelligence is a segment within a world in AI called conversational AI. It is true. It is this market segment. There's billions associated to that market. But from a marketing standpoint, CI is more this, as I mentioned earlier, this capacity to analyze, understand. And now what's funny is that this muscle that needs to be trained in organization, this muscle, this very muscle that has been forgotten, needs to get back in shape and get to work. And it's a measurable, trackable, trainable, scalable capability. But we need to have this conversation. We need to have it with the clients. We need to have it with people that are seeing brands as their most important, untangible asset. For those that don't see it this way, please talk about the weather. But for those that are saying, okay, hold on. It's true that my brand, no matter how small or big the company is, if the people are thinking and seeing and feeling that the brand is the most important, untangible asset of their business, you open the conversation. It's time. If we don't, we're just feeding the beast. And we're feeding the unsatisfaction. These are concepts that we constantly deal with as professionals in the field: brand efficiency, brand performance, and brand equity. I'm not going to go on that, but what I want to insist on is the brand competitiveness. Because if you look at these other guys here, oh, our clients most of the time are saying, oh, we need brand efficiency. Well, I need my investment to turn into some real good value. All right. Brand performance. Okay, show me the juice. Give me results, because I need a report at some point to some people. Brand equity, well, why people value the brand. This is good, but this is so long shot that for a lot of you and our clients, they're saying, you know what? It's not the conversation really that I can't control. And then you have brand competitiveness, which is really how to win in the market. That's where the conversation should be. Oh, you can be technical and go on brand equity calculations and see how it fits in the valuation of the company and all that, but frankly, this is very downtown conversation. On Main Street, it's how do we win tomorrow, and how do we keep winning for the next coming months and years. And this is where, when we say conversational intelligence and competitiveness, this is where they need to tango. So it's a way of looking at things that we find is interesting, and that we can, at Rinaldi Nobly, we use to drive what is our obsession, which is the brand and market fit. If somebody knocks on our door, the ambition and the obsession that we have is, okay, let's find a way to get your brand to market fit. If you don't have that, you don't have anything. Let's talk about the weather. But if you do want to have this brand market fit, let's see how CI plays a role. Now, what we did at Rinaldi is that we partner with Paperlines, which is a startup in the tech world. They created it 4 years ago, that is focused on bridging the gap between tech, creative agency, using tech, using AI, but to feed the conversation. So the landing pad is the conversation. How do we find ways to create what we call the one-to-one to many? With the human benchmark that we mentioned before, with the capacity to have this interaction, get truly the emotions, follow the conversation, and hope to have another one as quickly as possible. That's the new game for brands. That's what we call conversational intelligence. Let me run that for you. The challenge here is how tech, Gen AI, and technology are playing a role side by side with brands. How do we, using what we call digital personality, vocal, human-like conversations, men, women, and machine can have the conversation? How can we start the conversation and track the emotion as we go? If I start angry, can you bring me to a more positive conversation? Can I bring you under the tent using technology? Can we have the capacity as individuals, as brands, to do the one-to-one that we can experience on a coffee table, but at scale? That's what the technology today offers. Now, technology, whether it's AI or whatever, not gonna fix anything. It needs to be put in the hands of professionals that are understanding what is the power of brands and why it's important as the most intangible asset of a company, and how to play that role. Today, people are experiencing very dramatic bounce rate on their websites. They don't like the way the conversation is going. How can we speed the process, but offering more depth? That's what we're trying to do at Rinaldi these days, and it's been a challenging road because speed is our worst enemy. In Quebec, the insurance for cars are having this tagline for many years, and in French it says, "La vitesse tue." Speed will kill you. And in today's world, especially with AI technology and the fact that we're really obsessed about using all these new tools, we may forget that speed can be our worst enemy. Although it's exciting, we need to find the right pace. So it's not about speeding things up. It's about offering depth at scale. And that's where technology can be useful. And that's what we've been using. So just to give you a sense, it's
Hello, AMIN members. I'm Julie, your Deepers from Rinaldi and Paperminds. Just wanted to say how proud we are to be part of this inspiring network. At Rinaldi, we think boldly. At Paperminds, we listen deeply. Together, we are putting conversational intelligence to work. So brands don't just talk, they truly connect. Excited for the conversations ahead. Now, you can keep going, Fred.
Thank you. The problem here is this is a digital personality that has been crafted with the power of LLMs and what we call generative AI. The difference is between a voice AI and everything that you can see around is that personality is actually being capable of tracking how I feel. So the hesitation, the silence, the frustration in the voice, the technology today allows people to see how it goes. Exactly if you go in a blind date, you want to see if you're heading in the right direction. It's exactly the same capacity that technology can provide today if it's handled right. The objective is to bring people under the tent. The objective is to be heard. It's about catching truly what's going on. So this is not a tool or a gimmick to entertain the kids at home for Christmas. It is about finding ways for brands to get in this bandwagon to do what they need to do, which is to have the conversation at scale. This is a conversation that needs to start. This is a conversation that needs to force organization, teams, creative people, strategists to assess how we can better play with that puck and deliver to the stakeholders what they need. It's not a conversation about tech. It's a conversation about outcomes. It's not about results. It's about the feeling that people are getting on board with us, and that's our job as marketers. So I hope that this conversation is going to give us as a team, AMIN network, the capacity to talk together, find solutions, but mostly to find new ways, not just to excite the client, but to bring them the goods. I'll leave you on this. The future doesn't belong to those who shout the loudest, but to those who listen best. We have 2 eyes, 2 ears, 1 mouth. Let's make good use of it. Thank you very much, everybody. If by any chance there's questions, frustration, deceptions, I'm willing to talk to you guys about that and to pursue the conversation. What is important for all of us also to say about the conversational intelligence is that this market is growing at the speed of light right now at the international level, but mostly on the tech side. It's not that is important. What's important more is how do we, as strategists and marketers, find a way to reflect on where should we play with that? And we'll be able to talk about some of that stuff. Is there any questions, or no, you want to move to the rest of your afternoon or go outside as quickly as possible? Thank you very much, everybody. Have a good afternoon.
So I believe we're in advance. We go up. BLAISE, our sponsors. You're up next. are we just the year basis? How many here are using conversational intelligence in their agencies? Nobody. Something to think about.
I've got a question. It was called paper minds?
Fred?
Yes, I'm here, just getting dressed.
What's paper minds? Is that part of your agency? Is that
Yeah,
fun?
it's a partnership between Rinaldi and Paper Minds for 3 years now. So we've been collectively working on developing the tech stack, and the capacities on clients as well.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. Luana, is that you? No, take your time, take your time. We're getting moving a little early. And I assume this is my clicker. Perfect. Well, we're excited to get into this panel that we're actually doing. It said sponsored fireside chat. What does that mean? This is really the topic that we're looking to cover. It's going to be an advertising agency report, still nebulous, still not clear, so we're going to get into that in just a second. But I actually did this session last year for anyone. Do I look familiar to you? Can you raise your hand if I look like a familiar person? Okay, it's not deja vu, but I guess it sort of is. I'm the same person, and technically, I'm doing the same session with new people.